All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Today, doing a special Zoom interview with the band The Empty Pockets. Say hello, Empty Pockets.
Hello.
Is it like the Eagles, where it's got to be the Eagles? Although they go around, they just say Eagles.
It's Eagles.
It's controversial.
There's no the in front of the Eagles.
Right.
We've been in trouble with people.
Glenn Fry has made it clear, the late great Glenn Fry, and I don't understand that. How do you not put a the? It's confusing.
We're the Empty
We're
Pockets.
the Empty Pockets. The the is there.
It's there.
So the, which is a band, by the way, the is actually there.
The the is there.
See, this is
there. The
useless.
Grateful Dead is there.
That's excellent. So it's The Empty Pockets. So if you're using Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine of choice, you will be able to find The Empty Pockets. Because if you put Empty Pockets, you might get a lot of other people right now.
You'll still find us.
I think you'll probably
We're still there. We're
find us.
dominating SEO at Empty Pockets.
Awesome.
There's some inside baseball.
Oh, there's an accent. Was that Nate?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the
that's
accents will be from Nate.
Nice. All right. So when did you guys start this enterprise, and why did you do it? And give us the Cliff Notes version of the origins of The Empty Pockets.
Cliff Notes. Nate and Josh are small, really want to play music all the time, make $50 one time. We look at each other like, did you know that people pay you sometimes to play music?
I
And
did
other
not
ones
know
like,
that.
I
We need to
didn't
do
know
this
that.
together.
Then we're like, we should start a band. And then we called it The Empty Pockets because we're poor. And then Erica joined the band. And it was actually Josh in The Empty Pockets. And then we dropped the Josh and. Though I thought maybe we should just keep the and The Empty Pockets would be interesting.
I think we'd be having Google problems with the band.
Yes, I agree. That would be difficult. And then we start touring with these rock stars. The most consistently Al Stewart. In the middle of an Al Stewart tour, we replace drummers, just like the Beatles did. We bring on our version of Mr.
Ringo.
Richard Starkey. And Adam joins our band, and then we really explode.
Because of Adam.
No, as you all know.
Well, I'm not saying
All because of
why.
Adam.
It's correlated. I'm not
We're
assigning
saying because of
causation to Adam, but it is correlated. And then we just finished an amazing UK tour that we got in just before the stupid pandemic.
Yeah. Good.
And since the pandemic, we've really pivoted to live streaming very hard.
Yes.
And that, has been a new world for us.
Today is our 46th live stream of the pandemic.
Wow. So you guys, all right. So you're doing a lot of live streaming. You guys have any kind of sort of, what do they call that? Little tip machine or box or something you can donate via PayPal or some other way of doing it?
Yeah.
We do free shows where we take tips. It's sort of the NPR method. We do ticketed shows. We've done shows sponsored by radio stations and public libraries, and we've done, believe it or not, we've done private virtual events.
So it's been
anniversary parties, birthday parties.
It's been a big learning curve for us, but we've been, enjoying the new landscape as much as possible.
It's wild. It's wild, man.
Very cool. Very cool. So I've noticed you guys, the material that you've released over the beginning, around what year, 2012 or so was the launch, or a little before that?
We started this band in 2006.
But when did we officially release?
I think we released our... It's hard to say because Nate and I printed 100 copies of a disc in 2007.
Yeah, right.
And
sold
it was a masterpiece, obviously.
That's not what you're talking about,
Hey,
though,
man,
sadly.
if I remember, we printed another 100 copies.
Yes.
We consider our first real release the 10 Cent Tour, which charted on
Okay.
Billboard in 2015. It was released in 2012, totally.
Yeah.
That was recorded here in the studio. We're socially distanced. We're very lucky to have a very humble studio with 3 distinct rooms. Nate is taken to calling them. Nate, are you in zone 1?
This would technically be zone 1. You're in zone 2. Adam's in zone 3.
We're even expanding our airflow issues and stuff. But basically, in our minds, we're like, we believe in a pandemic on one end. On the other end, it's like, we're not going to let it stop us making music.
And we've always been hustlers. We've always been on the road. So we had to like
Yeah.
translate that somehow to being in Chicago all the time. And so
Mhm.
this was the way that made the most
You
sense.
know what's
to
sort of
us,
cool right now, man, is like we did our first UK tour, like I said, in October.
which
and,
like changed our lives.
and we met all these people and gained all these fans. And now our broadcasts, which we do every Wednesday at 3, is 9 p.m. UK time.
And we did that on
Perfect.
purpose because of all these UK fans who have had this like in love relationship with them.
I've never thought of it like that, like on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
As the Empty Pockets from Chicago would engage a group of people in the UK and in South Africa and in New Zealand and in Germany and here. So it's like, I don't know, I'm a bright side guy.
Yeah.
So like on one end, like Adam loves baseball. We're a baseball band. They're both wearing baseball hats. Like if baseball gets canceled again, I'm going to be brokenhearted.
Cubs.
Yes.
Not
All right.
for
Don't
Adam.
ask Adam, but
Don't ask Adam.
yes.
Cubs.
I like all baseball. Mr. Met is with me. Bernie Williams is with me. I'm wearing a Hartford Yard Goats hat. Cubs are-
Nice. Okay. No, it's cool. It's very cool. It's good. I mean, you guys are from an area, like I told you originally, I was from New England, and it's New England sports is basically its own religion. And if you don't sign up, you're gonna just be what do they call an outcast, and
Sure.
people will just not associate with you. And
Oh
you
my
have
God.
to
You're not a
pretend.
Red Sox fan, are you?
David.
So here's the thing. I see the Red Sox once they won the World Series.
Yes.
I was
True.
kind of okay. It was like, bucket list done.
We did it.
I was there when Buckner couldn't catch the ball, went through
Oh
his
my
legs.
God.
I was there for that. So it was one of those things where you felt like, okay, there's nothing else. And obviously you had the Patriots winning every year.
Every other year.
So it became kind of silly. People would say, "You're really up for the Super Bowl this year?" I'm like, yeah, whatever. If the Patriots
Right.
win,
I'm from
fine.
New England.
If
Who
they
cares?
don't, what's the big deal? They've won
Yeah.
6. What
Right.
So
Hey-
I'm good. The Bruins won a couple of Stanley Cups, and I was there for the 80s Celtics, who were amazing. And the
Oh,
Celtics,
that's cool.
yeah. So the Celtics won more recently than that. But in the 80s, I mean, you had, Robert Parrish, Larry Bird. I mean, it's just a different world. And I was
David-
fortunate.
David,
Chicago, we
the,
just did the Last Dance with Michael
yeah,
Jordan.
we love that. The
And that was
Cubs
killer.
and the Bulls
Jordan,
and the
just
Bears
Amazing.
are each like a religion here. But Nate, I know like only until recently you've like been on the outside, sort of with your foot on the line between sports, especially here in Chicago, where like the Cubs are taken so seriously, or when the Bears are good.
Yeah.
Like, what is that like, Nate? I know you've like,
Maybe
I feel like
I
an
know you've been on the
outcast.
outside of that at times.
Well,
and it is like a religion.
I've like laced in and out of it because
Right, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
sports weren't like looked that way in my household, but like my grandfather always had the Cubs games on. And then when I worked at the farm, it was like WGN's a clear channel, so
Yeah.
you can pick it up anywhere. And like you're out tooling around on a tractor, I was like, heck yeah, I want to listen to Pat and Ron, chattering away and listen to the Cubs. And so I got further into it, and then swung out the other way. And I don't know, sometimes I get it. Like I like fandom and I like the idea of it, but I feel like sometimes it goes too far for my own comfort.
Nate, you've brought a new sport to the band.
Oh yeah.
Tell me a little bit about
What
that.
you mean sumo wrestling? The
Yes.
ancient art of Japanese sumo wrestling?
Wow.
Correct.
I mean, I developed a love for it when my wife was living in Ohio for a year doing some work on her doctorate, and like I would need some reason to I would just need a way to calm down after I would talk to her on the phone. She can get me all worked up. So I got that NHK app, and I'd start watching some stuff, and it's very soothing TV, but they would have sumo recaps on, and I was like, oh, what is this? And I kind of got into it, and now I'm like, yeah, now I'm
Wow.
pretty hard into it. It's one of the few sports that I now follow. Weird. I don't know what to tell you.
See, yeah, there's no way to kind of put this band in a category. There's no way to do it. I've been trying to.
We shan't be categorized. And
So-
that's not
so-
to say that I don't like playing baseball. And so we challenge any other band that wants to play some band on band baseball.
4-on-4
And if
baseball.
The nerdier you are, the better for
The
us.
better.
I'm totally down with that. I could be like the umpire. That would be so
Excellent.
much fun.
Great.
Excellent. I'm holding you
Balls
to
and
that,
strikes.
David.
Great.
That
When
would
this
be
is
fun.
over and we're in Florida, we're gonna find some Florida band. Like most of the Almond Betts band is from Florida. And
They
we're
are.
playing a-
They are. Don't get me started. I had to tell people on my channel. Did you know that the kids have a band? And they were like, "What? Really?"
And they're
it's just
so
like,
nice.
They're really nice.
They're like the
cool
nicest
guys.
two
They're really
guys.
talented. I
Yeah,
love
and
those
they're
guys.
really talented.
So wait, are we officially challenging the Almond?
Yeah,
Betts?
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Band
Let's
on band
put it
baseball.
out there. And then,
Okay.
by the way, if they see this and they have to come on my show, and do
I mean, so be it.
Yeah.
a video.
That's how it goes.
Obviously.
They got it because number one, a lot of people don't know they exist, so we got to put it out there.
Yeah.
So let's get back to music because you got. I mean, we could talk and we should talk again.
Talk about it.
So how many albums do you guys have out currently? I know you have like some EPs and some. Go through all of the catalog. I know most of it, but just
Nate, what do you got in there?
I was just thinking,
physically.
should I go look at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wall
We'll
of
send it. We'll
merchandise?
send-
oh no.
We'll send Nate away.
Okay, tell you what. I'm
Nate,
gonna
come
take-
back.
I believe we
Come
have
back with the
seven-
first
I
thing.
believe we have 7 or 8.
Come back with a 10-cent tour.
I
Okay.
believe we have 7 or 8 total, and we have a couple of vinyl, which we really loved, and
Yes.
we sell out of those pretty quick, and they take forever
To make
to print. And
Yeah.
then we pretty much, I think we have another album written, and the pandemic has kind of put a thorn in our timeline, but we're currently working on a new one. So what do you got there, Nate?
So let's see. Right here, I've got
Awesome.
one of the early ones. I've got Introducing the
Ah.
Empty Pockets,
Yes.
Very early.
which of course is followed up by the 10-cent tour.
One of my favorites.
This is a special European printing.
Mm.
Yeah, you can
UK
tell the
release.
size.
UK release, I
Let's
like
see. One of the more recent discs that we've put out, of course, is Tanglewoods.
that. Very nice.
And I
Two
think
thumbs up
this
for
was
that one too.
The live album that you were referencing at the very
Live in
beginning
Seattle.
there.
Recorded at the Triple Door, one of our favorite
And-
venues. Very good, Nate.
Is
An
there a
excellent
vinyl
tour.
Very
record,
good.
Nate, back there? Like a Voices
Yeah,
vinyl?
I'm looking
You
around.
guys have
Let's
one
see what I
like
can
a
find.
snow day one too. Like
We do. We have an album, pretty much fully original Christmas album.
Yeah,
the
holiday
holiday
album,
because
'cause
there's a
that's-
Hanukkah song on it.
to write your own stuff and not just rely on other people. That's kind of hard. That's kind of challenging. There it is. There's
Yeah, in fact,
Snow Day.
I
Snow
believe
Day.
there's one song we didn't write on it, and
Yeah.
it's called Silent Night. And
Oh
it's
yeah, I
pub-
know that one.
It's
Yeah.
public domain.
Have you?
So
Public
there's-
domain.
So there's no royalties on that album. Sweet.
Yeah, that's the way you got. Man,
That's how you do it.
so you guys are very upbeat, very optimistic. I talked with a band from out in Hollywood last week. They're kind of they're an 80s sounding. I mean, just straight up like you got the clothes, the hair, and they sound amazing. And they're really discouraged, but they're still really enthusiastic. They produce all their own material. They write great songs. The lead singer, she's just like she stepped out of a 1980s MTV music video. I gave her a hard time. Her name's Tiffany.
Oh my God, her name's
Jeez.
Tiffany.
Yes, just to
We
add
opened
more.
for Patti Smythe a couple times last year, and
Yeah.
Patti Smythe is like the queen of the '80s in many ways.
She Patti Smythe, and I do this on a lot of videos. I say this one's in my top 10. Patti Smythe is in my top 10. She's
we
always
love-
been in my top 10. Vocally speaking, see, living through the 80s, you realize, hey, this person wants to work with Patti Smythe, and this person wants to work with Patti Smythe. And when Don Henley is like, hey, you got to sing on my track, and Patti Smythe is like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then she does it, and then he returns the favor later on,
Yeah.
like in the early 90s, one of the
Right.
great songs.
Huge hit for them. Yeah, huge hit.
Sad, damn sad song to
Brilliant
listen to.
song though. I love that
I
song.
love that song.
But her voice has got like something, I don't know, it's gritty, but it's soulful, and she can belt it out, or she can be like this crooner kind of thing. She just, and I was there right at the beginning with Scandal and Goodbye to
Of course.
You and
Yeah.
all that fun, just fun, like new wavy kind of stuff that they did.
Yeah.
But
She rocks. She
Yeah,
rocks.
so I dig that. I dig that 80s stuff, like a band with a Tiffany female singer doing some cool 80s stuff. That's awesome. Maybe their problem is they're living in Hollywood. That's also
yeah,
a bummer.
well, They played the whiskey, which I thought was.
Well, that's
amazing.
really cool. I mean,
Nice.
that's really cool.
I told them that I don't think they understood how awesome that was.
They
I mean,
didn't
I think
appreciate
they
the
did,
full, like,
but-
they played the Whiskey a Go-Go. That's serious.
I'm like,
I wonder like why that doesn't have the same effect in this generation that it did.
well, that's the big question, and I was going to kind of pose that to you guys a little bit. I think you guys, because you're so roots and you're so, I mean, people see. I don't like when people say, "Well, they're an Americana band." I hear this all the time. Well, we can't put them in a category, or they play all their own instruments, and there are no real weird special effects, and you can hear the vocals, and there's no auto tune, so they're probably an Americana band.
Right, right.
And
Very
Americana to me means you're going to be on a radio station 90.3 FM out in Tuskegee somewhere, where there's this great DJ who's just going to play all this great music that nobody else is playing, and his radio show is from 7 to midnight on Wednesday night, and that's where we're going to hear the Empty Pockets. Meanwhile, at the other end of the dial, you're hearing the same old stuff. I'll just use a nicer word.
Nice.
Where there's auto tune and it's Pro Tools, and it's a guy who's using fake drum sounds, and you got 4 or 5 producers putting out most of the material. Not to say that there isn't some melodic tendencies there, but man, oh man, the difference between what you guys are trying to do, what you guys are doing, I should say, and where radio is now. I mean, I have a DJ friend who grew up, we're the same age, and he stayed in the business, and he kind of shifted his focus back and forth. He went into country for a while, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he says to me, "Dave, it's a cycle." I'm like, I said the other day, this is kind of like being on Pluto and waiting to go around the sun, and it's a cycle, and I'm just wondering, when the heck is it going to end?
It's not a cycle. I mean, like, it's incorrect. Like, I think a lot of people say that, and obviously I'm just saying my own opinion in a definitive way.
Good,
But
we want
like-
opinions. We
but
want
like-
opinions.
I think pretty objectively, music, not necessarily in a bad way, though this might sound bad, has gotten less complex every 20 or 30 years
There's
for the
actually-
past like 300 years in a row, for the most part.
There's
think.
studies that talk about it. Like
I think there are
empirically.
exceptions to that. Like,
Yeah.
John Coltrane was pretty freaking complex. Like, I think the Police are pretty complex.
But I think they're talking about things that have gotten
Well, we're talking about
way
the
mainstream.
overall catalog of music that became popular from year to year. And I think, like, in many ways, we're simplifying and we're getting shorter,
Well,
not just in music, like a TV show before 50 years ago was 27 minutes. Now it's 21 minutes.
yeah.
Like
True.
I don't think it's all necessarily bad. Like, I always say, like, there are bad, whatever genre you like, there are bad songs in that.
And great
then
songs.
whatever genre you hate, there are good songs.
Yeah.
But I think, like, to your point, all of our heroes are from 60s and 70s and a little bit of 80s rock and
Yeah.
roll, and so
Or based on that, like
yeah.
Ben Folds, who's not in that era, I think
Anybody
also
who's
bases his
new-
music on that.
Brandy
Yeah.
Carlisle, we're definitely inspired by harmony and
It's interesting. The first time we
riffs
saw
and
Ed
groove.
Sheeran on television, he was at a Beatles tribute, and I never heard of him. And he's saying "In My Life," and I was like, "Oh my god,
this guy's great.
this guy's amazing! I'm so glad." And then I heard the rest of Ed Sheeran's catalog, and I was like, "What a bummer!" Like, you could have made all this awesome stuff. And then I heard a Justin Bieber song on the radio like 2 years later, and I was like, "This is the best Justin Bieber song I ever heard." It's like, "My mama don't like you and she likes everyone." I was like, the lyrics are good, and then I looked it up, and Ed Sheeran wrote it, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like
He's good.
this guy's
He's
legit."
good.
I
Yeah.
don't always. It's like reminds me of Mariah Carey, where it's like,
Yeah.
she's amazing. And some of Mariah Carey songs are like really
not my
in my
taste.
heart.
Yeah.
I love, and then some I'm like, I just don't get her taste. And I think
Yeah.
that about Ariana Grande, who's so talented,
Mm.
crazy. Like when you hear her sing
But there's nothing in common with the way that she produces a record with the way
with
we're
us, and
producing
what's
a
so
record.
weird, and I think
Right.
you'd relate to, David, is like I think Ariana Grande, for instance, is like just one of the most raw, talented singers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Why would you need an ounce of auto-tune on that girl ever? You know what I mean? Like, you
Or-
don't need it. Like,
Why do you
she's
want to?
amazing.
Why do you want to
amazing.
cut the one thing she sang
And
and,
do it
then
10
manipulate it like
times?
79?
Why do we
more
need
times?
Ariana Grande's one take for the chorus again?
Let's hear her wail
do
again.
the chorus again. Like, why
Yeah.
are we? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's-
that I think that speaks to like the production issue. You know, it's you know, there are times where I have to be careful because I do kind of sound like the guy yelling at the kids on the front lawn.
Get off my lawn!
Because of my it just is. I mean, I grew up with Foreigner, Journey, REO Speedwagon, you know, and then later on, people, you know, like my son said to me one time, we were listening to Steven Tyler, and I forget, it was just an Aerosmith song, I forget which one it was, and he said, "Dad, why does he sound that way? Why does he sound that way?" And I said, "Because he's singing." And I said, "And he's got a very distinctive voice." Now, I can understand if you don't like Steven Tyler and you don't like the way he sings.
Yeah.
But to his point, or to my point, was that I grew up in an era where the vocalists most of them were very distinctive. And if you weren't distinctive, you probably didn't get noticed as much.
I mean, we tour the world with Al Stewart. I mean, like, he's not a great singer, but he's got an extremely distinct voice.
And an incredible catalog. So
genius. Yeah. I mean, smartest thing he ever did was hang out with Alan Parsons for a little.
Yes, true story. Talk about great
thing.
Production. Oh my God!
I mean, he seems to attract all sorts of magnificent cats to him. Just
cats?
people that. Just well, but serious musicians that are just
it's
like
the year of the cat. Sorry, I had to do that.
we just did a 2-hour thing called Stories and Songs, where Al told all his stories and we played his songs. We did it on Saturday, and one of my favorite stories that he told was he wrote a song. It was the year of the cat, but it hadn't been those lyrics yet. And he wrote like a real esoteric lyric to it that the record label was like, "This is a good song, but these lyrics are really weird. You got to redo it." And he was so pissed that he wrote like a joke, like "Screw You" song called "The Horse of the Year." It's the horse of the year. And he eventually rewrote the whole thing again to be about Casablanca and Vietnamese astrology. But I love that Al bothers to write a full set of lyrics just as like a "screw you guys."
Well, that's
you can't boss me around.
Well, it shows you again a talent who's not just a great singer, not just a great player, but also a really great songwriter. And again, the era of the singer-songwriter, when you look at some of those people, I mean, one of the things, and I've done like 2 or 3 videos about it, is Jim Croce.
Oh my God.
One of my favorites.
Had a very shortened career,
but so amazing and so many good songs.
That wasn't his fault. Okay. You know, typical rock star dies in a plane crash, and his trajectory at the time was like whoosh, and then he dies, and then his next album, his posthumous album, is bigger than his last album.
Right, like Sublime.
And I'm thinking, okay, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, hello. And people are like, you know, I'm just like, what are you doing? I mean, you've got these. So I look at the era of all these great, and you can go through, you know, obviously James Taylor, and you look at Carole King, and you look at these people who defined music in a way that I just don't see anymore. So yeah, I'm yelling at the kids a little bit, saying,
but we can yell at adults too. I mean, just to take another pot shot at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in the world's all the bands you named should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The 80s, but even more important than that, Al says this: any Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has zero legitimacy without the Shangri-Las. He's like, the Shangri-Las are such a huge piece of what happened with rock and roll that if you don't have the Shangri-Las in the Rock Hall, it means nothing to me. Yeah. That's
interesting.
Yeah, so I think
I have my pet peeves. Like he has the Shangri-Las. I have Steppenwolf. I'm like, every hard rock band post Steppenwolf, what the heck are you guys doing? I mean, Born to Be Wild, just on the one song.
Right, on that one. I mean, it's so iconic.
Or Magic Carpet Ride.
Yeah, those are pretty.
I would say also
their catalog at the time, and they're rebelling, and it's the 60s, and they're sticking it to the man, and all these things that they were doing. And typically those are the things, by the way, that the Rock Hall really celebrates.
Right.
You like all that sort of rebellion, and I don't get it with John Kay and Steppenwolf. I just, and you know, Blue Oyster Cult, all these bands that came later that kind of borrowed that and just took it. You know, a lot of them some of them are in, but some of them every year I'm going, okay, they just put Bon Jovi in, which I'm
it's
okay.
Like, why? We have all these other bands that need to go in.
Right. I'm okay with it, but I wasn't like, I know I kind of went little, you know, a lot of people were like, Dave, what's wrong? nothing. But if Bon Jovi's in and all these other people aren't in, anyway.
There's so few women each year nominated. It's like absolutely crazy.
Well, that's one of the reasons. The
Pat Benatar was
Carole
nominated.
Carole
and she
King is
didn't
only
get in.
there. Carole King is only there as a songwriter with her husband. She is not
That's
there
great.
as a rock and roll.
If you listen to Tapestry, it's like that's a lot of.
Sarah
Great.
Bareilles
My
doesn't
sister,
exist.
my older sister used to play that. I was like 6 years old. She used to play that album like
Amazing album.
nonstop. It was
Top
like
to bottom.
it's just insanely good. Carly Simon. Why isn't Carly Simon in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, we could
It's
go
like-
on and on about the Rock Hall.
I know.
Rock Hall
It's still
is
fun
so,
to visit. It's
Rock
still fun
Hall,
to visit.
You're so vain.
Still-
You probably think this museum is about you.
That's good.
Nicely done, Eric.
That is really good. That could be a commercial. That could be.
That's fun.
All right, so we covered the radio business, and of course, we're kind of in agreement, which is kind of fun. Let me see here. So if you guys, what would you categorize? How would you describe your music? Like what category would you put it into? Because I wrote
Let's go to Boston here.
soul, pop, country, folk, vocal band, like
that's
harmony
pretty good.
band. Like that's when I was telling you guys beforehand, you got to look up Spanky and Our Gang from the late 60s. They had 2 or 3 major AM radio smash hit songs with all these vocals. And Spanky McFarlane, it's a woman. Her name's really Elaine McFarlane. One of the most distinctive voices, and kind of reminds me a little bit of you, Erica, a little bit of your
Cool.
delivery. But I could hear you guys covering this music. You'd have to get some extra harmonies going. I don't know. These guys were insane, and they did this stuff live, and you sit there and you're just like, how do they do that? And it's 1967 or whatever. But let's get back to the question. How would you categorize this music, and where are you guys going musically? Because you have this big landscape, and you've got a lot of lanes of traffic. And are you going to go down one lane, or are you going to keep doing what you're doing?
You go, Adam.
We call it mom rock. You might be familiar with dad rock.
Yeah,
which
Wilco.
we find a degrading term. We
Mom
don't.
rock.
We do not approve. But we are mom rock, the much less heralded mom rock genre. And as far as where we're going, I would say anywhere. I don't think we care. Like Josh said, we've got a new album of material pretty much ready.
Yeah.
And they're all weird songs. One of them scares Erica, which is weird.
Yeah.
And
That's like my favorite one.
and that's the best one.
Oh, it's exhausting.
One song is called Tense Car Tab Confrontation.
Love it.
Say that again.
That's right. Say it again. It's called Tense Car Tab Confrontation.
So like tense, like intense.
Okay.
Tab like a bill.
And
Oh, like
so
a drink, like the old soda.
Well, it's same.
instead of a
yeah.
bar tab, a car tab.
I got
Yes,
you.
exactly. Tense car tab confrontation. Al Stewart always says, write a song that no one else has written before. Say a phrase that no one else has said. And I wrote that song and I showed it to Al, and he was like, yep, no one's ever said that before.
He had something like Constantinople, Al Stewart. I can't remember the song, but it's just like,
Well, he has all
Really?
sorts of madness. He
That's
has all
the
sorts of crazy stuff.
and that's the single, Al? You really want to
Yeah.
release that
That's
one?
always the single.
He often professes to like just trying to write a song because he thinks of a word that he's like, well, no one's used pterodactyl in a song, so
Yeah.
how do we jam that in somewhere?
I love the accent. That's great. You guys have obviously spent a lot of time around Al, which you guys you're really blessed to have been around somebody like that.
You're right about that.
We are.
We are.
Absolutely.
Just incredible. But more drums, I would assume, Adam. on
Yes,
the next
more
one.
drums.
More drums.
It's funny, David. Adam showed up to his first gig with Al, and Al does not like to rehearse, so we did not rehearse with Al. We rehearsed alone, which is difficult because,
Yeah.
like,
He does a
What's
lot.
that?
he's Al Stewart. He
It's
does
his
the Al
show.
Stewart part of the show.
Yeah.
Which you're missing in rehearsals. So he shows up to the gig, and Adam plays with a stripped down kit. I really like the kit he plays with for a lot of reasons. It's a small kick drum, a snare drum, a floor tom, a crash/ride cymbal, and hi-hats. That's it. That's the entire kit. Most kits have at least 2 more cymbals and at least 1 more tom. It is the simplest kit you could play with. We play the sound check, and it went well. Adam had learned it. He turns to me in private after, kind of lets Adam walk away, and goes, Josh, can I speak with you? Where's all the rest of the accoutrement around
Where's the
drums?
stuff?
Where's the stuff? And I was like, oh, Adam doesn't play with the stuff. And he's like, is that going to be all right? And I was like, I think so. Did it sound good? And he was like, yes, it does sound good. And I was like, well, then I think we're cool. And he was like, okay.
Hey, that's such a good story. Passed the L test, the L drum test.
Well, Al's manager is a guy named Steve Chapman, who was in Poco for like 8 years. Serious drummer.
One of our favorite bands.
So he came to the show.
Okay, you and I, when you guys get to Florida, we have to just sit around and talk about Poco. All right.
Yes. Post-pandemic, we were hoping to interview Rusty Young soon, which would be really cool.
We backed up Richie Furay.
All right, so I'm gonna indulge since you guys went. Please
down. Do. We're all about Poco.
Come on. It was like 1980, and all my friends in the neighborhood, they're buying up like Bruce Springsteen and all these different things, and I get this Black album called Under the Gun by Poco. And there was one track that was on the radio at the time called Midnight, Standing in the Midnight Rain. It was a Paul Cotton song, who's another incredibly
we played with
ridiculously underappreciated. I mean, he's like Steven Stills on steroids. That's what Paul Cotton is to me.
That's nice. I like that.
And he wrote a lot of great songs that were on these albums that nobody listened to for many years. But my friends were like, Dave, that's kind of like the Eagles, but it's got kind of a different thing going on.
It is.
And I'm like, yeah. And of course, back in those days, Poco and the Eagles, as you already know the story, is like when the Eagles needed a replacement, who do they call? Well, geez, we got to get now. Let's get Tim Schmidt.
Let's get Tim Schmidt.
It's
the most unbelievable story. The two bass players play in both bands in order. It's the weirdest thing. Hey, David, it won't interrupt us, but it's our Zoom. We call her our epic concierge. I'm just letting our Diane into this Zoom room.
Okay, sure.
She's like our external bandmate.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, Diane, we're doing an interview right now, but I just wanted to let you in to the Zoom room. This is David. David, this is Diane.
Hello, Diane. Diane's way over, depending on where you're. Okay. Yes. So anyway, I became like this hardcore Poco fan, and I finally got to see Poco at Mohegan Sun. I think it was like 2011, and it was a free concert because if you walk in to the casino, they have this little area where they just expect
it's
you
called
to
the Wolf's Den.
Yes.
I've seen Bernie Williams play there.
I've been there.
I've seen Bernie Williams play there. Yes, of course I've been.
And I walked up and they signed. I had T-shirts and they were just hanging out after the show. And I'm just sitting there going, I cannot believe I'm just standing this close. And I was just starstruck, even though there were a bunch of people walking around the casino. Who's that? Poco? What's that? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this band influenced, like they are another band that should be in the Hall of Fame. Don't know how you put everybody in, but you probably have to. You probably have to put, the early lineup in with Richie, and then you got to put the later lineup with
Rusty and Paul.
Your guy, Mr. Chapman there, and Kim Bullard, and all those guys that were in that band. Just insanely influential to what the Eagles then became, and then the country rock thing,
so true,
and
man.
the contemporary country rock thing.
It's worth mentioning for your audience. One of Richie's last things with that band was a live album called Deliverin', and it's so good. We played it for.
It is.
It's so good.
We played it for Adam not that long ago, and I'm hoping we blew his mind.
Yeah,
and that Legacy record they did in the late '80s, where they got everybody kind of back in with Jim Messina, and I think the original drummer was George Grantham. His name.
Yeah. It's his name.
That was. I don't think he lived for that much longer. I don't know. He died kind of young, but that album was really well done, and Richard Marx actually did a lot of production on that record. And one of their biggest songs ever on that record, I can't remember the name of it right now because my brain's not working, but it was all over top 40, and I was like, wow, Poco in 1988, and they're on the radio.
We've been really, really lucky to have pieces of our career like intertwined with multiple members of Poco. Yeah. It's been really, really cool.
Very humbling.
You guys, I mean, you hobnob with the people that I would hang out with if I could. That's what I'm talking
You know, David, the problem is most people I know aren't impressed.
Yeah,
They're
like
like,
no one
who?
cares for
That's why you
another
have to come
generation.
on my show more often.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I will tell you this about Jim Messina, and I feel like this is good info.
This is good.
This is
Erica
great
once,
info,
Erica
actually.
was sometimes is in Richie's band, particularly when Jesse, whom we love, hi Jesse,
Hi,
Hey,
Jesse.
Jesse.
is pregnant. Erica takes over, and she's done it a couple times. We did a private. I think I was the guitar tech.
Nice.
With Jim Messina.
And Jim
on the
Messina's
gig.
bass player that day was Larry Antone, who plays
Ooh,
the
the Wolfman.
role of the replacement bass player in the movie That Thing You Do.
At the end.
They call
the
him
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Wow.
But anyway, Jim Messina was so nice this day.
He was really nice, but that's you know, and he talked a lot. He pulled up in his own bus. He drives
his own bus.
RV, and the band all joins him with his family on the RV.
In fact, we could give a tip to anyone who ever talks to Jim Messina, including you, David, but the whole audience. All you need to do
Great.
Mhm.
is bring up the quality.
Wait, I was just gonna get there.
Oh,
I was
go
just gonna get there. So I'm doing a gig. I'm doing a gig with Kenny Loggins, and Messina's also playing in the gig, and it's been really cool. They've been like rehearsing House of Pooh Corner, like in the dressing room across from mine. I'm like freaking out.
Yep.
At some point, he saunters into my dressing room, and I'm like, holy yikes!
Yep.
Jim
Yeah.
Messina just came into my dressing room. And he's like, so are you a touring musician? And I'm like, yeah. Actually, we played a gig together, and I remember you drove your bus. And he's like, yeah, what do you drive? And I'm like, oh, we drive like, you know, a Ford Econoline 350 van, you know, like sort of like a church bus. And he goes,
Yeah.
what kind of ply you got in those tires?
Oh, yeah.
And we talked tire ply.
Tire
for
ply.
10 minutes.
Wow.
He was very impressed with me.
He was very. Did he like the ply? Was he
liked-
impressed with the ply?
I think at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, we were at 10. And
We were
he,
running a 10. We
he
were running a 10 on the
suggested
trailer.
12.
Anyone
It's too
drop
big
a
for the van.
quarter in that tread to see how much was left? That's my dad's old trick.
Oh, sure. No, we
Yeah.
use a penny because,
Penny.
you know, it's the land of Lincoln here. So.
Oh, and not only
Empty
that,
pockets.
you guys are the empty pockets. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Oh,
So
gosh.
if you can see just the very top of Lincoln's head, you've got like still another 20,000 miles on those tires. It's
Yeah.
great.
Nate gets it. I knew it. There's a formula there. So anyway, how would you guys categorize your music? We never even got to that.
Oh,
Mom rock.
Mom rock.
What do you
Mom
mean?
rock.
Is it soul? Is it pop? Is it folk? What
No,
is
we
it?
reject.
Sometimes.
We reject all of
labels.
those.
Yeah.
We reject those because it's just like putting expectations on something on one end. Like you can't reject it because like we've had 5 albums in Billboard, and they have like 19 choices you make. Like, are we world music? No, I guess not.
World.
Is it blues? No. So in Billboard, we're Americana. That's an option.
Yeah.
I think
Billboard.
it's technically Americana folk.
/ folk. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're country. They put it, and they choose. We don't choose.
And sometimes
Sometimes
we're, in
we're rock. It depends on the album. So like they put Voices in the rock category. They put Turi in the country category and folk.
Mhm.
And they didn't put Tangle because that's more country. They didn't put Tanglewoods in the country category. They put it in America, but not in rock either, which is
Yeah.
interesting because sometimes you get like 5 categories and sometimes you get like 3.
But
Yeah.
I would say that the genres that you mentioned are all major influences on what we do,
Right.
including jazz,
Yeah.
including world music.
And
you know.
I have a theory. I think the band would agree with me here that the industry at large and promoters and entertainment providers overemphasize this genre separation thing. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's less important that a country act has to tour with a country act. I think people
Yeah.
are complex
Well,
and
don't
people
most
like
of us
multiple
listen-
things.
Don't most of us listen to multiple genres?
Yeah.
Most. Yeah.
And
I'm
especially-
guilty.
Oh,
You're
I'm
right.
sorry. Go right ahead.
No, you said it, Nate. Go ahead.
Oh, especially now recently, there's the music that's being pushed is all such a hybridization already that like rock is bleeding into country as it has for
And I
50
think
years.
some innovative
know.
promoters, like I don't want to give too much credit to the people who put on Lollapalooza here in Chicago,
Mm.
but you know, a couple years ago they had Eric Church and
Yeah.
Paul McCartney and Chance the Rapper. Those were their
Great.
headliners. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty freaking different. Across,
Yeah.
it can be done. So I
Yeah.
just think it's a little like trust. I think a lot of creators that end up making something innovative trust the audience.
Trust the audience.
You know, like give the audience some credit. Now, on the other hand, the audience has let me down a lot of times.
Well, sometimes they're not trustworthy.
Like, stop telling me what to wear, guys. I'm over it.
Yeah.
So it's like a balance. It's a hard balance.
Well, see, that's good stuff. It's good. I mean, you guys are really grounded. You understand, I think, what your strengths are and the different music influences. You just take them in. And again, I agree that putting people in categories can be, not only is it sometimes misleading, we'll put it that way, or people will say, well, I'm not going to like this because they say folk, and I don't like folk, but I like soul, you know, or I like this format. But then when you hear the music, you know, all together, and you guys, your albums are pretty diverse. I mean, if you don't like the first song, you probably like the second song, kind of a thing. So it's in a way that's good, because then you can say, hey, there's something for everybody on this new album, and it can be true, you know, whereas if you're doing this sort of very consistent one song after another and they all kind of sound the same, people are just going to be like, okay, this is kind of boring. So
yeah, and I think big business entertainment, like the studios, the big labels, whatever, books, the big business entertainment gets lost because they forget, like, it's supposed to be entertaining. Like, it's better if it's entertaining and not in your genre or whatever.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Then it's boring, or, you know, we've been here before.
Or like, why do we want to, like, if we love Van Morrison, we don't want him to keep churning out Brown Eyed Girl over and over
but
and over
it's
again.
a balance, because Bob Dylan
puts
puts on an electric guitar, everybody freaks out. Dave Matthews puts on an electric guitar, everybody freaks out. Mumford and Sons puts on electric guitars, everybody freaks out. So it's like,
you have to be cognizant.
You can betray your audience and they can feel betrayed. But then I ask, is that a bad thing necessarily? Like, is it the artist's job to like challenge that? Like, Bob Dylan made a lot of really good, cool artistic choices, including that one.
Well, yeah, and you know, Dylan, I go into him, but I mean, he just has so much goodwill because of the way, you know, his songs have impacted people, and his songwriting is just at like another level. So people are kind of like, hey, Bob, you want to play an acoustic guitar? You want to kind of mumble a little bit on this record? Whatever you want to do, as long as we get to hear your lyrics, you know, we'll accept it. And, you know, I'm not the hugest Dylan fan, but I understand the gravity of what he's done. And
we're right with you there, man. I don't
That's the perfect way to say that.
I don't totally get it, but I know Al Stewart, he's like #1 for Al Stewart, which makes sense.
Bob Dylan?
Yeah. Because Al's a lyricist and Dylan's the lyricist.
Yeah, you know, he is the lyricist. And again, I mean, I may put on a Bob Dylan record and go, you know, I remember, was it Subterranean Homesick Blues? I forget what song it was I was listening to, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I had to kind of, because I was, especially younger, it took me a while to process lyrics, because I was more of, hey, is this a catchy song? And, you know, you can sing, you know, the chorus, you know, and you're singing the chorus and you're kind of mumbling the rest of the song in the car, and you're trying to fake out your friends like you know every lyric, but you don't. You just admit
you get back to the chorus. Wild thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good. I love that dirty water. Yeah. So anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap it up, because again, my audience, they tend to fall asleep, so because they watch me.
Wake up now! It's over.
It's late.
We did it.
It's getting late.
But you guys have been one of the funnest interviews I've had. I had this band, like I said last week, up from Hollywood, Fire Tiger. You should check them out.
Cool name.
They are the epitome of 1988. But you guys, so what? You got music in the works? Anytime soon, or are you going to wait till next year? You're going to wait till...
We don't know. I mean, it's hard to say how fast and slow things go. It's sometimes we feel like we have a ton of time, and then the complexities of this time change everything. I hope this year, but I always hope sooner. And then we're on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Central on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Every single Wednesday, we're doing a free show. What time zone? You're in Eastern, so it's 4 p.m.
So you guys
time.
are like a half hour from now, and I should... This video will probably air later this evening, so
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you should make sure you give me a little plug. I mean,
we will
say, hey, we're going to be on this incredible interview, or just lie and just say, yeah, The guy was kind of crazy, and we just
Check out the real music.
we just started talking, and we didn't know. We were talking
He
about
takes
Poco.
off his shirt halfway through the interview.
We were talking about Poco for like an hour, and people were like,
Yeah,
"What
we
the
could
fuck
do
is
another
Poco?"
hour on Poco.
Easy.
Al Stewart and Poco. Next
Yeah.
time you guys come on, we'll just talk Al and Poco.
Well, next time we come on, we got to get Al's just learning Zoom, so maybe we'll get him on and
Oh,
we'll do a little
Al on
practice
for me.
together.
That would be wild. Just
We'll
to
do
hear
that.
him speak.
Yeah.
Just to hear Al Stewart talk.
Let's
would
make
just,
that
like,
our goal. Let's
I
try
would
to
just like say
that happen.
one word, and then Al can talk for 20 minutes.
Oh, so
And
you
Oh,
talk
and
to him
he
because that's
can.
how he
Will.
talks.
That's awesome.
That's what Al will do.
I
That's
believe
not
it
a
was
joke.
1957, and there I was, a young lad.
It's not.
Is
That's
that
no
Al
joke.
or is that Nate?
I don't even know who
It's
it is.
Nate.
Oh,
Well,
I thought it was Al.
could
Really
be
appreciate
Tua.
it, man. We're gonna get ready for our show. But it's so fun talking to you. When all this pandemic is over, we'll hang out in Florida. We'll do a gig. We'll do a barbecue. It'll be amazing.
Thank you
Absolutely,
for
and
celebrating our music. Thank you for taking the time to introduce your fans to our music. Like a band like us that's independent relies on people like you and the fans that you've cultivated. So like it means so much to us. Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
And website, guys, is it theemptypockets.com?
It is.
Yeah, just because in case someone wants to purchase some music,
We do that.
They
We
might
do
Buy
that.
our merch.
T-shirts, right?
It's all
Oh,
up
yeah.
there
Paraphernalia of all kinds.
of all kinds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
guys
can
have
buy
the empty pockets face masks?
We're making
available
them.
We're
We
getting
are
some made.
making them.
They're
They're
on
not
the
done
docket.
yet, but
They
doing it.
entrepreneurs. I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it so much. You guys are great.
Thanks.
Have a
for having
great gig. Knock them dead.
Thank you.
Break a leg. Whatever you guys need to do. Break a string. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
David.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Dave.
Take care.